Hi guys, this is called A Practical Guide to Corals for the Reef Aquarium by Ed Puderbach, Eric Bornman. Be still and observe in awe the magnificent splendor of the oceans. It's published by Crystal Graphics in Kentucky, 1996. These are the authors, Ed Puderbach and Ed Bornman. The idea came from Ed Puderbach. So a bit about corals. It says reef tanks should be supplemented with minimum of additions that include calcium and strontium and iodine. Corals have hermatypic corals have symbiotic algae contained within their tissues called zooxanthellae. These algae help meet some or all the energy needs of the coral host through photosynthesis. Consequently, lighting is one of the most important parameters for the success of hermatypic corals in the reef aquarium. It is also to a large degree responsible for the myriad of colors with which corals are endowed. A full description of immense importance that light serves in the reef aquarium is beyond the scope. Level 1, very little to no direct light. Level 6, the most intense lighting possible under normal fluorescent lights. Level 8, most intense lighting possible using VHO, fluorescent, or power compacts. And Level 10, direct metal halide lighting. Water flow requirements. Another variable that is important in the success of corals, and especially in their ability to fully expand, is the amount of water flow to which they are exposed. Some specimens, polyps, will not expand fully if there is a constant hard wash of water over them. Other coral polyps will not extend at all unless the buffeting action of water is suggestive of the wave action found in the reef shallows where they are found. Most of the SPS corals prefer this type of condition. So the care of corals requires the consideration of lighting needs, water flow, aggressiveness, and difficulty of care. So low water that has a constant yet very slow, almost unnoticeable flow. Medium lifts and blows polyps like a breeze blows grass. Noticeable but not forceful. High, obviously forceful and whipping action that is like sheets of rain and wind in a storm. It is deliberately strong but not damaging. Note, the best current in any situation is a random or rhythmic current that allows natural flex and bend of coral polyps. This allows for most efficient removal of toxins and waste products in the coral itself. Natural flex and bend. Aggressiveness. The aggressiveness of corals is important in determining their placement relative to other species. A strongly aggressive coral can kill nearby corals very rapidly, an unnecessary expense and loss of life. It is important not to overcrowd a reef aquarium since most corals can be expected to grow and will eventually infringe on neighboring corals. Coral aggressiveness is determined by the strength of the nematocyst or stinging cells, degree of expansion, presence, and length of sweeper tentacles, potential growth rate, and in the case of soft corals, terpenoid and mucus release. While in nature, aggressiveness is important in a competition for food and space, it's often less than desirable in the aquarium. So low aggressiveness can be placed quite near other species with little concern that it will cause harm, and although lit may easily be harmed by others in medium will harm others placed in immediate proximity, but should not be a threat to nearby corals, and high has sufficient structures to allow it to rapidly damage or kill other species nearby. Difficulty of care. The degree to which corals can be kept successfully in an aquarium is important to the hobbyist. While every reef keeper should attempt to keep a microcosm that closely resembles a small section of natural reef, some tanks are better suited to keeping one type of coral over another. For example, a 55-gallon tank with normal output fluorescent lights and many fish better suited to keep mushroom anemones and leather corals, while a 180-gallon tank with metal halides and few fish is a good environment for keeping the difficult SPS corals. Difficulty of care is determined by the minimum actual conditions that must be met in order for the coral not merely to survive, but to thrive and grow. It is also determined by a coral's tolerance to changes in water chemistry and conditions. Level 1 can be kept successfully by inexperienced hobbyists with minimal hard care and hardware. And level 5 should be kept by those with some experience in captive coral care, whose tanks are well established in stable environments. Level 10, extremely difficult to care for, should only be kept by most experienced hobbyists whose tanks have near perfect water conditions that approach those of the reef itself. No, there's no best tank other than the healthy one. It is important for aquarist to know his limitation of skill, equipment, and level of bio load in order to achieve a natural and healthy reef aquarium. Trying to keep fragile corals in an unsuitable environment is a senseless and frustrating waste. In nature, one should not expect to find acropora in a lagoon or carnation corals on a reef crest. Obviously, the hobbyist should strive to duplicate conditions in which a coral would be found in natural reef. Yet our ability to successfully keep many species is often limited by our present knowledge of their needs in a closed captive environment. So they're trying to also work on protecting the reef ecosystem, and that by keeping their own little mini ecosystems, these biologists and hobbyists learn more about them and also breed them and grow them. Okay. And the book aims to learn more about them and distinguish between the different types of corals and come up with ways of identifying them and telling the difference between them, the different types, more precisely, because there are a lot of similarities, and they went through and did surveys with biologists and came up with agreed upon and logical identification methods for all the different types of corals. So there's pictures in here and names that were given to the different corals to distinguish them. It says the brain, moon, and pineapple corals are technically part of the large polyp stony corals. Although there are tremendous differences in shape, texture, and color, many dealers have historically referred to the entire group simply as brain corals. Because of their common physical characteristics, they have been presented as a separate chapter. In general, brain corals resemble brain with meaty, circuitous appearance. Moon corals, while similar in overall appearance to the brains, look like a moon or ball covered with ovoid craters. Brain corals may be either flat or round and meandering. while the moon and pineapple corals tend to form solely compact, round colonies. Pineapple simply refers to the brown variation of moon coral. So, brain corals. There are many species of what are commonly called closed brain corals. Most have round, massive heads with either worm-like channels or round craters that give them a characteristic appearance that resembles a brain. The open brain corals also have these channels, but the skeletal shape is more flattened, and the coral tissue is heavier and more meaty in appearance. In many cases, it may be difficult to ascertain a species' identity with any degree of accuracy because of typically small specimen size. There is also a certain amount of variability within members of the same species. Though not necessarily feeding brain corals is possible when their tentacles are extended. Tentacles often appear surrounding the septa or along the channels and are actually quite short. All brain corals adapt well to captive conditions if given proper care and are an attractive and hardy group recommended to the hobbyist. Lighting needs 4 to 9, water flow LM, aggressiveness LM, so low to medium, and difficulty of care 5. Flat brain, lobo, open brain, root, tooth. The various names. Flat brains have channels, but in a flatter, more open configuration from the round heads typical of other brain corals. Its tissue is heavy and meaty. There are numerous color morphs, but the most common colors are olive green to brown, and occasionally white, gray, white, and red. These corals can expand dramatically in the aquarium and are fairly easy to care for if a healthy specimen is chosen. Flat brains prefer low current levels than other brain corals. Scientific name Lobophilia hemprichi. Flat red brain, scientific name Lobophilia sp. Grooved brain, grooved builder, groove dividing hemispheres. The arrow. Classically brain-like in appearance, these round-headed corals can grow to a massive size in the wild. In aquariums, they tolerate many light conditions, can be expected to thrive. For identification, grooved brain can be recognized by its less rounded shape, with an edged bottom and a distinctive groove splitting the hemispheres of the coral head. Like most of the brain corals, it is typically tan or brown in color. Name Olophilia crispa. Dented brain. Dented brain is a fairly difficult species to recognize, also called brain, closed brain, or tooth. The arrow shows channels obscured by expanded tissue. Most but not all species have a dent or groove along the ridge that separates the open channels. However, this attribute is not always visible when the coral is expanded. While the majority of dented brains are round or mostly round, others can be quite flat and opened, and such as the one below. Name Symphilia radians. The arrow says a dented channel may be obvious on some, but not all specimens. Swollen brain, red moon, swelled brain. Swollen brain species are most noted for their brilliant red morphs, although orange, brown, and green are also common colors. Individual polyps can be very large with obvious central mouths. They can obscure the skeleton, making swollen brain resemble a colony of mushroom animals. It prefers slightly lower light and current levels than other brain corals, but is tolerant of other conditions and usually fares well. Name: Blastomussa wellsi. Says individual polyps are a distinguishing feature of swollen brain. When fully expanded, the specimen will look like a single mass of brain cells. Kind of look like flowers. Maize. Brain, closed brain pineapple. Maize may be the most recognizable of all brain corals. It has many worm-like channels and is almost exclusively rounded in shape. It can be striking in coloration with valleys and ridges often contrasted in shades of green, white, and brown. Most species have ridges that are cross-hatched with obvious skeletal teeth, and tissue expansion may be less apparent in these species. Tissue. Name: Platygira sp. Next is open brain. Open brain has the most open configuration of all brains. It is typically oval in shape with single open folded channel. There are two distinct colors of red and green that are commonly available. Less easy to care than other brain corals, iodine is important to their health. Although it may be confused with flat brain, open brain has a heavy conical base that is typical of substrate dwellers. Lighting needs 4 to 8, water flow LM, aggressiveness L, difficulty tier 6. Green open brain, crater folded puffed. This green specimen has a slightly more folded appearance than is normally seen. Name is Trachyphilia geoffroyi. This is, the conical base and figure 8 shape are characteristic of open brains. Kind of look like mushrooms. So that's the green open brain. And this is the red open brain, crater folded puffed. Primarily a difference of color, only the red morph does tend to require less light than the green. Name: Trachyphilia geoffroyi. It's quite beautiful. Moon corals. The moon and pineapple corals, while similar in gross appearance, are a somewhat unclassified and diverse group of species. Moon generally refers to a species in which the craters and or ridges are green or rare fluorescent white. Pineapple refers to species in which the craters and ridges are a uniform brown color. Even so defined, there are many striking color variances within the species. Despite the ambiguity in the actual names of these corals, it seems as though moon and pineapple corals from the genus Ephevia have rounded or oval craters, while those from Favites have craters with usually hexagonal or pentagonal sides arranged in a honeycomb pattern. Lighting needs 4 to 9, water water flow M, aggressiveness L, M, and difficulty care 4. It says no pentagonal linear shape of corallite. So moon coral. And this brown moon is characterized, that's the brown moon, by green craters surrounded by brown ridges. Name Favites abdita. And the green moon is characterized by an all or nearly all green appearance. This coral is very striking as it is strongly fluorescent under actinic lighting. Name Favites flexuosa. Note the linear size or honeycomb pattern of Favites. The arrow. Quite striking appearance. Very bright color. Bright pink and green. Like a watermelon. So next is called boulder or brain or star. Boulder is often called brain coral because of its round appearance, even though it more closely resembles a pineapple. Though infrequently referred to as such, it is actually most correctly considered a star coral. In nature, this species is rounded in shallow waters and plate-like in deeper waters. Its corallites are elevated from the skeleton and surrounded by obvious toothy ridges. It can be slightly more difficult to care for in the aquarium than other brain corals. Name Montastria magnistellata. Boulder has pronounced skeletal teeth. Because of the general shape and color, specimens such as this one are often incorrectly sold as moon or favia. However, the pronounced skeletal teeth are the clue that this is actually a boulder coral. Pineapple. Pineapple is characterized by an all or nearly all brown coloration, though it resembles moon in all other aspects. Name Favites flexuosa. Note the ovoid, non-linear shape characteristics of Favia. So some reports say brown morphs may be more difficult to keep, but it is not a common finding. This is called moonstone. Favia can be blindingly fluorescent under actinic lighting. Most experts cannot agree on distinctions between species, so it is best to identify these corals through detailed physical descriptions of the color variations. However, moonstone is suggested as a common name for members of the Favia genus. Name Favia sp. So the arrows are showing the non-linearity. So we're gonna, let's see. So this is, the end of this section on the brain, moon, and pineapple corals. So we're going to pause. Thank you guys for watching. My page is facebook.com YOSAllplay. YOSALLPLAY. I don't know if we should continue. It says large polyp stony corals is the next section. The stony corals consist of large and small polyped SPS varieties. Although this chapter is concerned with only the large polyped varieties, there is some disservice in the nomenclature since the size of polyps is the suggestive measurement. Large polyped stony corals, like SPS corals, have a hard skeleton composed of successive layers of calcium carbonate laid down by the polyps. Since they need a high calcium level to thrive, strontium, iodine, and other trace elements are necessary for their growth and success. Stony corals are characterized by easily visible polyps that expand quite dramatically in some species. While requiring excellent water parameters, most are somewhat tolerant of lighting and nutrient levels. The stony corals still require fairly strong illumination, but most can be kept under sufficient fluorescent lighting. Preference of water flow depends on the species. They generally reproduce either by spawning or by budding, a process where the small version of the parent grows and separates, forming a new colony. Reproduction of stony corals in a well-run reef tank is fairly common. Feeding most stony corals is not necessary, although many will accept small pieces of food such as bits of shellfish, crustaceans, squids, even fish. Other ahermatic or zooxanthellae-lacking corals require feedings for their survival. One feature common to many species is the presence of surprisingly long sweeper tentacles. These elongated tentacles are designed to sting and kill neighboring corals, so care must be used when placing corals with these structures too close to other species. Anchor. Hammer, hammerhead, sausage, wall. Anchor is a commonly available species that is regularly available in green, brown, or greenish-pink colors. Like most Euphyllia species, it can send out long and powerful sweeper tentacles, and it must be placed a safe distance from neighboring corals and invertebrates. This coral is recognized by long, graceful polyps that sway beautifully in the current, named Euphyllia and Cora. Anchor has very distinct curved or kidney-shaped polyp tips, while those of hammer are T-shaped. This is a distinction that has not generally been recognized, and many species may be misidentified. Are these two different species, or is this simply a physical morph? We will leave that up to the taxonomist to sort out. It is important for the collector to realize that these two variations occur on a very regular basis. To further complicate the situation, there are also branching varieties of both types, as shown on the following. So lighting needs is 4 to 9, waterful LM, aggressiveness H, or high difficulties care 5. So next is called hammer, and it's anchor, hammerhead, sausage wall. Hammer is similar in all aspects to anchor, except that the polyp extremities that have more T-shaped ends and resembling a hammer. Both hammer and anchor, though light tolerant, may have a very specific location in the tank that allows for maximum expansion and health. Scientific name Euphyllia fimbriata. Next is branching hammer, name Euphyllia, and then branching hammer, Euphyllia parancora. You're following the taxonomical nomenclature of E. parancora to the right, and E. paradivisa not shown. Should the species be called E. parafimbriata? Both these species have a skeleton separated by branches. The emerging polyps, like their non-branching relatives, have either anchor or hammer-shaped tips. Lighting 4 to 9, water LM, aggressiveness H, difficulty 5. They look pretty cool. Frog spawn, fine grape, flower pot, grape, octopus, vase, wall, zigzag, with a different name. Frog spawn is recognized by masses of rounded tips that resemble the egg mass of a frog. It is typically found in white, green, pink, brown shade, clear similar to other Euphyllia species. Name Euphyllia divisa. It says branching, round, polyp tips like a massive spawn. Lighting 4-9, water LM, aggressiveness H, difficulty 5. Torch, branching hammer, green torch, pom-pom. Torch is a branching skeleton with single-tipped polyps. When these polyps are extended, each branch resembles a torch. The specimen is unusual because it has both green and brown variations within the same colony. Name Euphyllia glabrescens. Arrow showing single-tipped polyps. Quite beautiful colors. Purple and green. The next one is called, this is called torch. The following is called grape, anchor, fine grape, hammer, sausage. Grape coral is the most difficult Euphyllia species to keep, but it is by no means impossible. It too has a branching skeleton, but the polyps extend out with enough mass to obscure the base. The ends of the tentacles have small spears like frog spawn. Note the branching nature of the colony. It's the arrow and massive round polyps. The name is Euphyllia cristata, lighting 4 to 9, water LM, aggressiveness H, difficulty 6. So that's grape. And then this is called white grape, and its name Euphyllia cristata. It says identification of Euphyllia species. Common name, so it's like a summary chart. Common name anchor, base is solid, polyps or anchor-shaped tips. Branching anchor has branching base, anchor-shaped tips. Hammer has a solid base, T-shaped tips. Branching hammer has a branching base and T-shaped tips. Crackspawn has solid, massive base and massive round tips. And grape has branching base, massive round tips. And torch, branching base, single tips. So torch is this one. Single tip. Bubble corals are a spectacular group that can inflate balloon-like vesicles to an amazing size. Oddly enough, these bubbles are not polyps. They are modified tentacles that protect the delicate polyps below them. Caution must be used to avoid tearing the delicate expanded vesicle. These corals can send out short sweeper tentacles that are very powerful. All bubble corals prefer bright light and low to medium current so bubbles can inflate maximally. They're tolerant of other conditions. Lighting 3-9, water through LM, aggressiveness H, difficulty 4. Bubble bladder. This common species has large elongated white or cream-colored bubbles with fine lines on their surface. Bubbles normally obscure the mouth of this dramatically expanded specimen. And this is showing the short but powerful sweeper tentacle. There. Octobubble, bladder bubble pearl. Octobubble is very similar to bubble, except that the vesicles have protrusions on them. The bubbles also tend to be slightly smaller. The name is Plerogyra flexuosa. Note the elongated tentacles, the arrow, the octobubble. Kind of a light pinkish lavender translucent color. Pretty cool color. The bubble is more round and peachy color. This is called pearl. Bubble, small bubble, octobubble, pearl bubble. Pearl is closely related to bubble and octobubble. However, this species forms larger colonies with numerous smaller, more rounded bubbles. Scientific name, Physogyra lichtenstein. Densely clustered round bubbles are shown. Galaxy, brittle, durian, green star, moon, scalpel, star 2. Galaxy is a fragile and large colony type coral that is well known for its long and powerful sweeper tentacles. Shipping is often a problem for this coral, and it is rare to have a specimen that's healthy enough to survive in the aquarium. They're typically brown or green colored. Name Galaxia fascicurosus. The sweeper tentacles can be deadly to anything nearby. Lighting 5-9, water LM, aggressiveness H, difficulty 8. They're just really fragile, I guess. Very fine and delicate. It's called Galaxy. Because they have, they appear to have a bunch of stars, like in a galaxy, I guess. Crystal. The stars being the tips. The tips. The crystal, galaxy, moon, star, tooth. The sparkling polyp tips are why this coral is often called crystal or star. Then an entire colony can look like a galaxy of stars. This white specimen is an uncommon variety, brown or green being more typical of the species. Its care needs are the same as required for galaxy. And the name Galaxia striata. The arrow is showing the sparkling polyp tips, which are very distinct. Sparkling polyp tips that make the whole look like a galaxy. And these are white. It's quite lovely. Next is called fluted galaxy. At first glance, this coral looks like a brown crystal. However, the skeleton consists of many exceptionally long fluted corallites, as shown in the inset. This specimen is a new import and has just started becoming available to reef hobbies. The name is Galaxia sp. Lighting 5-9, water low, aggressiveness H, difficulty 8. It's like a very beautiful pink shade. Like a dark mauve pink, almost like the color of figs or something. The fruit, they kind of look like figs a little bit. When you open up the figs on the inside, that's what it looks like. Next is called starlet. Star-lobed star. A starlet is round or pillar-shaped coral skeleton marked with star-like eyes. It's tolerant of temperature and water quality where it can be found in sediment-filled lagoons. It exists far north of typical tropical reef zones, even to the Carolinas. Solnastea and its related genus of Siderastrea are abundant, hardy corals in nature. Unfortunately, they do not show up often in the aquarium trade. Lighting 2 to 10, water LH, aggressiveness medium, difficulty 3, name Solnastea bournoni. Note, despite being an Atlantic species subject to stony coral bands, Some species can be found outside of the restricted Caribbean areas. As such, there are coastal areas where this coral can be collected legally. Its hardiness should allow for easy aquaculture in the future. Disc corals. Disc is a common aquarium species found on soft bottoms in nature. Capable of actually walking around by tissue inflation and deflation, these corals can thrive with bright light and moderate current. They have unique skeleton composed of many thin, radiating teeth. As a bottom dweller, disc has a mucus coat containing nematocysts or stinging cells that aid in feeding. This mucus can seriously injure other corals that it comes into contact with. For the reason, all discs have a high aggressiveness rating. So lighting 5-9, water LM, H for aggressive, and difficulty 6. Called disc or Chinaman's hat, fungus, mushroom plate, stubby plate. Name Fungia sp. And a cool licking. It's like peach color. If we get cut off, we will continue in the following part. This is called purple disc, Chinaman's hat, purple fungus, purple mushroom, stubby purple plate, name Fungia deny. Care, as with any flat corals, care should be taken not to trap air bubbles underneath when placing them in the aquarium. Air bubbles cause irritation and may eventually lead to tissue necropsy and death. Disc corals should never be taken out of the water while inflated. They should be handled very delicately to avoid harming the tissue and protective slime layer. Very pretty purple, bright purple, wet green, very bright. Looks like a flower, or a bunch of flowers. The flower bush. Long tentacled plate disc mushroom sunflower. Long tentacled plate is similar in appearance to disc. It looks more like an anemone because of its thicker, longer, and more numerous tentacles. Like disc, it appears in several colors, but often has pink-tipped tentacles. Care for long tentacled plate is similar to disc, although it is slightly more fragile. Name Heliofungia actiniformis. Lighting 4-7, water LM, aggressiveness H, difficulty 7. It says bulging is common upon introduction to new tank conditions. Looks cool, white tentacles. This is called helmet, dome. Helmet is related to other solitary plate type corals. However, the species is more rounded, resembling an old war bonnet or motorcycle helmet. Tentacles are finer and more numerous than related species, giving it a fuzzy appearance. Its colors can vary. Its care is similar to that of the discs. lighting 4-7, water LM, aggressiveness medium, difficulty 7, Halometra pileus, more very fine tentacle. It's like a dark peach color. A fish. Elegance corals. Elegance corals are common, successful additions to aquariums. In nature, their base sits in the substrate with tentacles extending upward, resembling an animal. They may act as a surrogate host to clownfish and can also provide a refuge for other fish. Elegance corals have powerful stinging cells and expand tremendously in the aquarium. In this way, they can injure other corals, so care must be taken to give them plenty of space. They enjoy occasional feeding. Lighting 3-8, water LM, aggressiveness H, difficulty 3. Green elegance, comb elegance, elegant meat wander. The most commonly available variety, green elegance, is a hardy species with fluorescent green and brown hues, often seen with colored tips on its tentacles. They have very bright pink tips on this one. Name Cataphilia hardeni. Very pretty color, light pink, translucent. Almost lavender. The fish seems happy. Pretty cool. This is called brown elegance. Does not have the vivid coloration and bright fluorescence of the green variety. This coral is often referred to as Euphilia picteti, although this is not an incorrect identification. Name Cataphilia hardeni. There's a fish there. It's pretty cool looking, light green, pink combination. Fish is pretty cool looking too. Looks like a Dalmatian or something. Spots, black with white spots. And this is called purple elegance, an uncommonly available species from Solomon Islands in Jakarta. Is notable for bright purple-tipped tentacles. Other variations of elegance include bubble-shaped ends and split ends. Name Cataphilia hardeni. Candy cane, candy trumpet. Candy cane is an attractive and hardy stony coral. The polyps appear clustered and on the end of a stalked skeleton, and are characteristically striped with green accents. They prefer indirect bright light and low current, but can adapt to a variety of conditions. Wide variety. The polyps of candy cane are generally more isolated than those of trumpet, and the tissue remains close to the skeleton. Name Calastrea furcata. Lighting 3 to 8. Water LM. Aggressiveness low. Difficulty 4. Both candy cane and trumpet originate from branching stalks, and reduced lighting may cause the striped pattern to disappear. So the stalks are over here, on the bottom, right here, where the arrow is. It's quite beautiful. They look like flowers. Very lovely looking pink color with green. So, and this is trumpet. It looks almost identical to the other one. I don't know why they're different. But it says bullseye, candy cane. Trumpet is closely related to candy cane. However, it is usually more clustered, often resembling a ball of coral when expanded. The polyps, although separated on individual stalks, can obscure the branched skeleton and gives it the appearance of a more solid grouping. It is frequently less colorful than candy cane and prefers higher water movement, called also Calastrea ucinulata. Lighting 3 to 8, water medium, aggressiveness low, difficulty 4. The polyps on trumpet extend further out from the skeleton than on candy cane. When expanded, they look like the horn of the trumpet. So they're a bit longer and they're bigger and longer, I guess. They're pretty. Next is elephant nose. Elephant nose is a unique, bumpy, saucer-like coral. It is indeed very elephantine, from its gray and black color to the protuberances that look like tiny elephant trunks extending from its top surface. The specimen shown is unusually colorful. Mycedium elephantotus. Name, lighting 4-7, water M, aggressiveness L, difficulty 7. Brown and green. And this is called elephant skin corduroy phonograph. Elephant skin is leafy or dish-shaped coral that forms large colonies. It is typically brown or gray with white edges. Elephant skin has distinct gray skeletal ridges randomly scattered across its surface that makes it resemble the skin of an elephant. Prefers strong light and current, and is occasionally available as green morph. Name Pachyceres rugosa. Lighting 6 to 9, water medium to high, aggressiveness low, difficulty 6. Flower pot corals. Flower pot corals consist of many similar species that are singularly beautiful. They have long, elegant tentacles that sway gracefully in the current, but falsely lure the hobbyist. They're usually found in a green tone with brown or white casts. For identification, the ends of flowerpot tentacles have 24 tips. The related daisy coral alveopora has only 12. While there are some people that apparently kept flowerpots successfully for years, claiming different methods for success, it is out of the reach of ordinary hobbyists to do so. at this time, regardless of claims to the contrary. It says, not recommended. Lighting is 4 to 8, water L to M, aggressiveness medium-high, difficulty 10. Flower pot ball, brown branch, daisy, fall spring. This beautiful specimen is typical of a newly introduced flower pot with the common ball-like skeleton. Scientific name, Joniopora lobata. Looks like flower. Branching flower pot, bouquet, branching Joniopora. Branching flower pot is less common. Branched variation, scientific name Joniopora eclipsensis. Says recession typically seen weeks or months after introduction of flower pot to the aquarium. The course of demise usually starts with polyps that do not extend. Recession begins and tissue is often rapidly consumed by brown jelly infection. This is branching flower pot. It looks like little flowers. Peach color. This is called fox, jasmine lettuce ridge. Fox is a beautiful species whose large polyps expand enormously, then fold over a wavy, thin ridge, like a skeleton. It prefers dim or indirect light with slow current.